This is a video on the main points from the second part of the book, $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi. And all this information in this video is from the chapter Pricing, Finding the Right Market. But firstly I should mention this is actually part 2, so if you haven't watched part 1 then you should watch that now, top right, and then come back here after watching that and get the next part of the information. And last quick thing before I start, nearly all of this is raw information, so I'll be reading it word for word and I'll be looking down there, because that's where it all, it's literally like exact word for word points from the book that's like really good practical information. So as well, if you're a business owner or you have like anything, Airbnbs, anything business wise, or you're in sales, then you should probably get a pen and paper because there's just lots of practical steps within this. Alright, first thing, pricing, finding the right market, a starving crowd. And then this is a quote: "The seed that fell on good soil represents those who truly hear and understand God's word and produce a harvest of 30, 60 or even 100 times as much as had been planted." Matthew 13:23 NLT. Now, a marketing professor asked his students, if you were going to open a hot dog stand and you could only have one advantage over your competitors, which would it be? So they shouted out location, quality, low prices, best taste. The students kept going until eventually they had run out of answers. They looked at each other, waiting for the professor to speak. The room finally fell quiet. The professor smiled and replied, "A starving crowd. You could have the worst hot dogs, terrible prices, and be in a terrible location, but if you're the only hot dog stand in the town and the local college football game breaks out, you're going to sell out. That's the value of a starving crowd. At the end of the day, if there is a ton of demand for a solution, you can be mediocre at business, have a terrible offer, and have no ability to persuade people, and you can still make money." An example of this was the toilet paper shortage at the beginning of 19. There was no offer, the pricing was atrocious, and there was no compelling sales pitch, but because the crowd was so big and so starving, rolls of toilet paper were going for $100 or more. That's the value of a starving crowd. So on that point, so it says that it needs to be a starving crowd, but at the same time, it said earlier, location, quality, low prices and best taste. That's what they were saying. Location is pretty much the whole overall point, because you need to be in the location of a starving crowd. So that is what a good location is. So it kind of is location. But what I want to say on that is that I remember hearing about McDonald's, and there's a quote that Ray Kroc said, which is the owner of McDonald's: "We are not in the hamburger business, we are in the real estate business." And then this isn't a fact, but I'm sure I remember hearing that they don't actually make profit from the burgers. It's really just the property and the location of the land that they own in really good areas. That's how they actually make money. Now this is a really good part that I'm also going to read word for word, because it's just straight information, which is like a bit of a story. So, selling newspapers. A good friend of mine, Lloyd, owned a software business that served newspapers for almost a decade. They set up digital ad services on newspaper websites with a few clicks and instantly helped them sell a whole new ad product. He only charged them a percentage of the revenue he added. So if they made nothing, neither did he. It was pure gain for the papers and a great offer. But despite having a great offer and natural sales ability, his business began to decline. Being a high-achieving entrepreneur, he tried all the different angles to solve the problem, but nothing worked. He couldn't figure out what the issue was. It was hard for me to see him struggle with this because I think Lloyd is much smarter than I am, and the answer seemed obvious to me. But watching him go through this has been a lesson I have taken with me for life. Before I reveal it, what do you think the problem was? Product? Offer? Marketing and sales? His team? Let's break it down. It wasn't his product. That was great. It wasn't his offer. He had a zero risk rev share model. It wasn't his sales skills. He was a natural salesman. So then what was the problem? He was selling to newspapers. His market was shrinking by 25% every year. He had looked at all the angles except for the most obvious one. Finally, after years of fighting an uphill battle in his market, he realised his market was the source of his problems and decided to downsize his company. This is why business can be so challenging, because there's so many factors that come into play on if your business becomes successful or not. So you can look at every angle apart from one and not solve your problem. Everything will be perfect apart from one thing, or the market is a big thing, and then that means you're just not going to be able to be too successful. Now, how do you pick the right market? What to look for? There is a market in desperate need of your abilities. You need to find it, and when you do, you will capitalise, all while wondering what took you so long. Don't be romantic about your audience. Serve the people who can pay you what you're worth, and remember that picking a market, like anything, is always our choice, so choose wisely. In order to sell anything, you need demand. We are not trying to create demand, we are trying to channel it. That is a very important distinction. If you don't have a market for your offer, nothing that follows will work. This entire book sits atop the assumption that you have at least a normal market, which I define as a market that is growing at the same rate as the marketplace, and that has common unmet needs that fall into one of three categories: improved health, increased wealth, or improved relationships. For example, Lloyd, from the above newspaper story, could have gone through this entire book and nothing in here would have worked for him. Why? Because he would be targeting newspapers, a dying market. That being said, having a great market is an advantage, but you can be in a normal market that's growing at an average rate and still make crazy money. Every market I have been in has been a normal market. You just don't actually want to be selling ice to Eskimos. Here are the basic tenets of what I look for in a market. Let's run through them before we return to the offer. When picking markets, I look for 4 indicators: pain, purchase power, easy to target, and growing. So massive pain. They must not want but desperately need what I am offering. Pain can be anything that frustrates people about their lives. Being broke is painful. A bad marriage is painful. Waiting in the line at a grocery store is painful. Back pain, ugly smile pain, overweight pain. Humans suffer a lot, so for us entrepreneurs, endless opportunity abounds. The degree of the pain will be proportional to the price you will be able to charge. More on this in the value equation chapter. When they hear the solution to their pain, and inversely what their life would look like without the pain, they should be drawn to your solution. I have a saying I use to train sales teams: the pain is the pitch. If you can articulate the pain a prospect is feeling accurately, they will almost always buy what you are offering. A prospect must have a painful problem for us to solve and charge money for our solution. Pro tip: the point of good writing is for the reader to understand. The point of good persuasion is for the prospect to feel understood. Now, the next one, purchasing power. A friend of mine had a very good system for helping people improve their resumes to get more job interviews. He was great at it, but try as he did, he just could not get people to pay for his services. Why? Because they were all unemployed. This again may seem obvious, but he thought these people are easy to target. There are massive pains, there are plenty of them, and it's constantly adding new people. This is a great market. He just forgot a crucial point. Your audience needs to be able to afford the service you're charging them for. Make sure your targets have the money or access to the amount of money needed to buy your services at the prices you require to make it worth your time. Next one, easy to target. Let's say you have a perfect market, but no way of finding the people who comprise it. Well, making a grand slam offer will be difficult. I make my life easier by looking for easy to target markets. Examples of this are avatars that have associations they belong to, mailing lists, social media groups, channels they all watch, etc. If our potential customers are all gathered together somewhere, then we can market to them. If searching them out, however, is like finding needles in a haystack, then it may be very difficult to get your offer in front of any potentially interested eyes. The point is tactical. It is reality, not theoretical. For instance, you may want to serve rich doctors, but if your ads are being displayed to nursing students, your offer will fall on deaf ears, no matter how good it is. Main points: you want to make sure you can target your ideal audience easily. Clarifying point: there is no issue wanting to serve rich doctors, they are easy to find. This is just illustrative that your promotions must be served to the right audience. And then the last one, growing. Growing markets are like a tailwind, they make everything move forward faster. Declining markets are like headwinds, they make all efforts harder. This was Lloyd's example. Newspapers had 3 of the 4 makings of a great market. 1. Lots of pain. 2. Purchasing power. 3. Easy to target. But they were shrinking fast. No matter how hard he tried, the entire marketplace was fighting against him. Business is hard enough, and markets move quickly, so you might as well find a good market to give you a tailwind to make the process easier. There are 3 main markets that will always exist: health, wealth, and relationships. The reason that those will always exist is that there is always tremendous pain when you lack them. There is always demand for solutions to these core human pains. The goal is to find a smaller subgroup within one of those larger buckets that is growing, has the buying power, and is easy to target. The other 3 variables. So, if I were a relationship expert trying to find my avatar, I'd rather focus on second half of life relationships, coaching for old timers, than helping college students in relationships. Why? Because senior citizens who are alone are likely suffering more pain as they are nearer their deaths. Pain, have more buying power, money, and are easy to find, targeting. Lastly, at the time of this writing, there are more people turning 65 each year than turning 20, growing. That is the idea. Think about what you are good at in regards to health, wealth, and relationships, then think about who might value your service the most. This is the most pain, has the buying power to pay what you want, money, and can be found easily, targeted. As long as those 3 criteria are strong and the market isn't shrinking, you'll be in good shape. Now these are the summary points of that whole thing. The purpose of this chapter is to reinforce 2 things. First, don't pick a bad market. Normal markets are fine, great markets are great. Second, once you pick, commit to it until you figure it out. If you try 100 offers, I promise you will succeed. Most people never try anything. Others fail once, then give up. It takes resilience to succeed. Stop personalising. It's not about you. If your offer doesn't work, it doesn't mean you suck, it means your offer sucks. Big difference. You only suck if you stop trying, so try again. You'll never become world class if you stop after a failed attempt. So this is the last part. I want to do a short little chat on how you only see successes like online, people like Usain Bolt or athletes. You only see their successes because that's how they get known. So you don't see like people that have these billion-dollar companies, how their last 8 businesses failed. And then this is a quote that links this. This is by Michael Jordan. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. So you don't need to see failure or like a bump in the road as it's all over. You need to see it as something to learn from. Any failure you ever have, there was an issue within your whole structure or system. So fix that and then you become better. And I'll remind you, if you haven't watched the first part, then go and watch that now. Otherwise, if the next part of this whole series of the $100 million offer information is out, then you should watch that. That'll be on screen. However, if that's not out yet, then obviously you're interested in like becoming successful. So you should watch this video on screen, which is a guide to success from the wisdom of Naval Ravikant. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.